Welcome to the You're Not Crazy podcast, hosted by Jessica Knight, a certified life coach who specializes in healing from narcissistic and emotional abuse. This podcast is intended to help you identify manipulative and abusive behavior, set boundaries with yourself and others, and heal the relationship with yourself so you can learn to love in a healthy way. You can connect with Jessica and find additional resources, content, and coaching at emotionalabusecoach.com.
Hello, and thank you for being here. Before we dive in, I want to go through the fine print and share how we can work together. Because healing from this kind of pain takes a lot more than time. It takes the right kind of support. I work with people entangling themselves from emotionally abusive relationships, coercive control, trauma bonds, high conflict co-parenting dynamics, high conflict divorce, and if you're at the beginning of the road and wondering what divorce would look like. I offer one-on-one coaching at every stage. If you're still in the relationship, if you're unsure if it's abuse, if you know it's abuse but you're having trouble understanding what that looks like, or what to do with it, I can help you name what's happening, start setting boundaries that work for you, and figure out what you need. If you're thinking about leaving, we'll explore what that might look like in a grounded and personalized way. If you're navigating divorce or custody or co-parenting with a high conflict person, I can help you document, strategize, and stay emotionally anchored, especially when you're being gaslit, discredited, and re-traumatized by the legal system. If you've already left and you're stuck in the trauma bond, or if you've been discarded and struggling to feel like yourself again, I can help you rebuild self-trust and reconnect with your own nervous system in a way that actually feels doable. Everything I do is highly personalized. I don't walk you through a one-size-fits-all program. I listen, I reflect, and I guide you based on what you're facing right now. And some people work with me through a one-time validation call, which is offered on my website, where we zero in on one issue you're struggling with and start to untangle it together. Others work with me on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, depending on what's going on in your specific situation. And this is especially helpful when healing from emotional abuse and also in divorce. If you're curious about starting, I offer a $25 intro call, which if you listen to my older episodes, I call it a clarity call. It did used to be free, and I talk about it at a later episode, but really a lot of people were no-showing to those calls, and that was taking away time from clients that I do work one-on-one with. And so if we move forward, I just take that fee and apply it to your first session. That intro call is just for us to get on the same page so you can share what's going on for you and I can share how I might be able to help. I only take a limited number of those calls per month because one-on-one coaching is the core of my work. Out of all these offerings that I have, one-on-one coaching is the thing that I do the most, and I do it 6 days a week most of the time, 5 to 6 days a week. And so if my calendar looks full and if there's not a time that you can get in, you can email me at jessicaknightcoaching.com, and I always try and make space where I can. And I may also always have a few openings from one-on-one client reschedules. You can also explore self-paced courses and toolkits at jessicaknight.thinkific.com, including Divorcing a Narcissist 101 and the Emotional Abuse Breakthrough course. I have a documentation course and my new signature program, Unhooked, which is a private podcast and course that walks you through the full cycle of abuse, helps you map it in your relationship and how to break it and how to begin to see what it really is that you're going through. If you want ongoing support in a more flexible way, you could always check out my Substack at jessicaknight.substack.com. Each month I focus on a different theme, from trauma bonding to divorce to cluster B to sexual coercion to emotional abuse to toxic breakups. Those are just some from this year. Paid members get access to monthly deep dives, master classes, Q&As, strategy kits, and I'm working on some more group options. There is also a free option and a monthly option. So please head over to Substack. The link is in my show notes. You also can just search Jessica Knight Coaching and I'll come up. Everything that I create is meant to help. My coaching, my writing, my courses, this podcast, it's built around the one truth that you're not crazy. You are conditioned to doubt your reality, and I want to help you change that and understand what you're going through. If you like this podcast, the best thing that you can do is subscribe and rate the episode 5 stars. You can find me on my websites, emotionalabusecoach.com and high-conflict divorcecoaching.com. All of the offerings that I just mentioned are also in the show notes below. Now let's get to the episode.
So today's topic is about this idea that you're the only one who has a problem with me, which if you've been with an abuser, which you wouldn't be here if you weren't, there'd be no point in you being here. This is something that people deal with all the time. And it's really disorienting because it starts to feel like no matter what, they're framing me as the only person to ever have a problem with them, when you can look at it rationally and see, all right, that doesn't seem like the case. They have an issue with this person and that person, but according to them, I'm the only person who has a problem with the way that they handle things. So a lot of times that's what we have to go off of. And so it usually goes something like this. You name something that hurt, you try and set a boundary, you express a need that you've buried or that you haven't brought up. Instead of meeting you with care, they say, you're the only person who's ever had a problem with me. Everyone else thinks I'm amazing. None of my exes said this. You're the only person who's ever brought this up. And so suddenly it's not just about you and him or you and her. It's about now you're defending yourself against like this ghost crowd, people who aren't there, who never lived what you lived, and who somehow get to decide now whether your pain counts or not. And there's a moment that you might recognize this come up. And I remember saying to an ex, it really upset me when you left me waiting for hours without even a text. And this was for someone who had demanded like a lot of communication. And so in this situation, when I didn't hear back from him, I knew I was being punished. His response was, no one else has ever had a problem with how I handle things. Maybe you're just too controlling. And just like that, it wasn't allowed to be hurt. Not because it didn't happen, but because no one else seemed to have noticed. And that was the point. And when this happens, I think what this really does to us is that when someone says you're the only one who sees it this way, what they're really saying is your experience isn't valid unless others agree. I don't have to take responsibility unless there's a crowd of people that agree with you. Your instincts aren't working. My instincts are correct. And I don't want to change. And this isn't miscommunication. This is, I call this emotional triangulation. So triangle. So you, them, other. Sometimes it could be another woman. It could be another man. It could be work. It could be something else, but like something else in the other. But in this case, in this emotional triangulation, there's a ghost there, because the ghost is the one who is weighing in on all these things that they're claiming is valid. And I like to think about like the emotional map that they're creating. And it goes something like this. If no one else said it in their mind, whether or not they did, then it must not be true. So now you're being unfair, and therefore now you owe them an apology for bringing that up. And I know I may have just said that and it might be confusing. So if no one said it, it must not be true. So to them, you're being unfair. Therefore, you owe them an apology for even bringing it up. And then the conversation isn't about what happened, it's about whether or not you were right to feel it. And that's the trap. That's the trap. And it's why it hurts, because we want to be believed as people and we want to be understood. We want to know we're not crazy. So when someone you love implies that your truth is out of sync with the entire world, it cuts deeper than the silence, and it makes you feel like your experience isn't valid, and then tells you that you're lucky to have them in your life clarifying everything. There's this one time I remember I went out with a friend and my ex insisted on joining. And so I was there probably for about like 45 minutes without him there. And then he comes. But during our time there, she was like, you don't look okay. And I was like, I'm not okay. This was awful. And this is going on. And like, I don't know what to do. And like, there's all these implications and I'm trying to figure out a path. And so pretty honest conversation. Then he comes, and I felt like actually the conversation went well. Like it was definitely more her and I talking. She's my friend. He had created a fight with me, wanted me not to go, and then was injured that I even went in at all. So, he wasn't engaging because he had to maintain victim mode. But then we were talking a lot, and then he goes, "You talked over the whole conversation." I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Just a reflection on what just happened." This is as we're walking back. "You talked over her the whole time. You don't think that you can ever get a word in? You certainly can." And all of a sudden, I went right to shame. Did I talk too much? Did I silence her? Did I talk over her? What did I do? I shouldn't have done that because it mattered to me. But the next day I check in with her and I say, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize that I talked over you. I think I was just excited to be out. I haven't gone out in a while and with a friend, single mom life." And she goes, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, I must have talked over you. I'm sorry. And he told me about it. And she goes, "Stop. No, that didn't happen." She goes, "I had a great night." That's not what I thought at all. I thought we had a great conversation. If anything, we actually, all three of us were enjoying talking to each other. "I'm really sorry that happened to you." And I remember going, "Oh, okay." The wind got knocked out of my sails, and I didn't know what to believe or what to think because this person was so dead set convinced that that's who I was. And when I tried to even think that, no, that's not what happened because that's not me, it really stuck out to me that that was the narrative he wanted me to believe, because that would have made me be silent, more on my toes, more quiet in the future. And when I look back at that now, what I see is that they're not trying to understand you. They're trying to win. They know how much credibility matters. So they paint a version of themselves to you that's spotless every time, every single time. And you're always compared to that spotless version. Everyone else is fine with me. Why can't you be? The implication is if no one else has ever had a problem with me, maybe no one will believe you either. And the fallout of this is that you stop bringing things up. You tiptoe around your reactions. You start keeping score of your tone, your timing, and your quote unquote reasonableness. You become quieter, more agreeable, and because somewhere deep down you've started believing, if I were easier, this would feel better. And that's kind of what I believed even for those 24 hours. If I was different, I wouldn't feel these things. And so the real message behind "you're the only one who ... is really what they're saying is, I'm not going to look at myself, and your pain is an inconvenience, and I'd rather invalidate you. They're not giving you data. They're not giving you compassion. They're trying to strip you of credibility and silence your needs and silence you, because that makes you have to start rehearsing every word. I'd be a liar if I said after that I wasn't on my toes every time I was around him in a social situation. I didn't really want to speak anymore. You don't need to stop trusting yourself for somebody else. And if you are, that's not what communication or healthy communication looks like. And so just because nobody else, according to them, screamed, when the fire started, doesn't mean that you imagined all the smoke that came. And you saw it, you felt it, and your experience matters. And just because they're saying something's not true doesn't mean that it's not. And so one of the things that you can do is really look at the part of you that is still waiting for someone else to agree before you believe in yourself. Think about, when did someone make you feel like you're the only one who had a problem with them? Really hash this out, because I'm really confident that this isn't something that comes up in your life all the time, because you would have known sooner, way before this person. And so if you do need any support, or if you are looking for other ways to unpack this or make sense of it, you can always reach out to me at jessicaknightcoaching.com. All of my resources are below in the show notes. And, I say this all the time, but please seek the help if you need it. I have so many resources, but if I'm not the right fit for you, somebody else will be. You don't have to do this alone.